So let's talk about alignment. Okay, so we have our main left and right speakers, the main arrays. We have, you see a single speaker on the outside there. Those are called outfills. They cover there's a couple seats out there that aren't covered by the mains. And then front fills here. So in the center here, you guys can't really hear so much from up there. You're hearing from this down here. And so what are we doing? How do we make those all sound the same and arrive, or where the seams are interacting between these front fills and the delays? How does all that work? Talk about alignment.
Yeah. So this is more my job in touring, and I come into churches and do this a lot too. So the ultimate goal is we're managing interactions, a lot like mixing. You're managing the interaction of, say, 3 guitars all playing in the same range, doing the same thing. How do you make them all separate in a mix? And systems are the same way. The more components you have, you're trying to make it all work together. So usually, in my mind, I start with one side of the array, or one side of the system, say the right array. And I'm just looking at coverage of that one side of the room. Then I might go to the left side, look at left side of the room only. And then I might look at the room as a whole. How is my left and right covering through the middle where they're interacting, or the seam? So you start there. From there, I typically work into my sub alignment, or phase alignment with the subs. That is where my system, which may be doing 70 hertz all the way up to 20K, my subs would be doing, the 20 hertz, if they can do 20 hertz, up to the interaction with the mains. So the subs might be doing 20 to 70 or 80 hertz. So the goal of systems is we're trying to get all this to work together. If I were to just come in here and turn all this on right out of the gate, maybe this isn't a good system example because this is newer technology and they've gotten a lot better about the presets. But an older system, if I just turned on the subs and the mains, it's a shot in the dark if they're going to be in time together. Your subs might be behind, they might be ahead, depending on placement. The mains might be ahead or behind in time is what we're talking about. So the goal of alignment, that you hear the word alignment with systems, you're trying to get all these devices to work as one, or perceived as one. Like if I'm sitting in the front row here, only pretty much hearing that front fill and the sub, I'm trying to, as a system designer, I'm trying to make that person experience the feeling of unity as one. I don't want it to be like that one little speaker, I localize it to there. I want it to be perceived as I'm hearing everything as one. That's right. The ultimate, simplest goal.
So with whatever source, say I were to snap in this, we want this snap to come out and be heard at all locations at the exact same time. So because there's a physical difference between where that speaker is and where this speaker is, we have to digitally line those up to make sure that you sitting right there hear from that and from that. It's all arriving at your ear at the same time, as well as the kick drum and the subs and the bass guitar. Okay, we want all speakers from all the sources to all be in time together. Does that make sense? Great.
And again, the enemy with it is the speed of sound. With lighting, anybody do lighting in here? I hope not. Lampy. Lighting, you don't have to worry about this. Like if you were to take 10 moving lights across the front here, or any lights, and turn them on, off, you're going to perceive them all turning on and off at the same time. Audio, it doesn't work that way because it's much slower. But technically, all those lights would be out of phase or out of sync with each other. We just can't see it. Audibly, with sound, we hear the time smear, as we call it, because now you've got multiple sources all out of time. We hear that. So lighting has a much easier job. Audio, the more sources we add, the more complicated it gets trying to time it. It's sort of like trying to time 100 Polaroids. Or, people know what Polaroids are. 100 Polaroids at the same time.
You had a camera and you pushed a button on it and you looked through the thing?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So talking about off of that, now is a great time. Let's talk about like what you do and just kind of explain that to us. We'll take a break from us learning and just hear from you a little bit. So your role primarily as your kind of main gig you get called the most for is as a system tech, what does that mean? What do you do on an average day?
I refer to myself as a golf caddy, because system techs or system engineers, again, used interchangeably. Most tours now, you carry your head sound engineer, or they mix front of house. That's their sole job. They don't have to worry about the PA alignment, where it's going to be hung, because in touring we travel with everything, speakers, rigging, cable, consoles, everything. We're all self-contained, but the rooms change every day. So my job is to come into the room, usually 6 o'clock in the morning, wherever we are, and start measuring. I have a disto come in and what we call shoot the room, measure the room. Then in modern array calculators, I can draw the room three-dimensionally, and then I place the speakers in the software into the room. I can see where they're covering, where they're not covering, and then it's my job to design the display of the array, the height of the array, the up tilt, down tilt. So anytime you go to a concert, you're going to notice the line array most likely hanging there. Those display angles are not just random. There's not a computer that automatically generates them. Those are manually done by somebody like me very early in the morning. And again, we're trying to minimize the interaction of our system with the room. So by measuring and calculating everything very precisely, we're able to minimize reflections off a ceiling, so that the end user, the concert goer, has an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Also, so when you go to Capital One Arena or whatever and go see a concert, at 6 a.m. that morning, there was nothing in there. It was just the seats. It was blank floor. Ryan and about 100 other people walk in at 6 a.m. and do all of that, from the stage to everything you see in here. It's all what he travels with as part of his job. For a couple years, you've been a part of a very big summer outdoor stadium tour, where like football stadiums, 65, 100,000 people, very large systems. What is it like that? So your job on that was like just one side of the PA, right?
Right.
So Ryan's entire job would be just hanging one half of the speaker system. There's another guy doing the other half, and then another guy doing front of house. So that was a lot of alignment, a lot of. How do you walk into Gillette Stadium or whatever other stadium, and same thing with a laser and measure it all out, cover every seat?
Yeah. If you're in touring now, we try to share all the drawings together, because it takes a lot of time. You basically have to be a drafter now, whereas 20 years ago, it was point and fire and hope for the best. Now it's all about precision. They want to carry the fewest amount of boxes or speakers, or we call them boxes or cabinets, as possible, because it's weight, and it's weight in a truck. So we're always trying to figure out what's the minimal amount of weight and gear that we can carry to cover our largest venues, which in this case were 65,000, 100,000 seat stadiums. So typically what we do is, if it's our first time in that stadium, we'll do a site visit months ahead of time and spend a whole day accurately drawing everything. That's an ideal scenario. The unideal scenario is we come in the day of and I get 2 hours to draw, a very intricate stadium. But what we typically do in the industry is we collaborate and share our files with one another. So I'll email a bunch of my buddies that do the same thing. Hey, have you ever been to this stadium? And they'll be like, yeah. And they'll email it to me, and I can do it in my living room while my wife watches HGTV.